Hi, how's it in the name of Christ? How you doing? It's your girl Crank, Karabo. I hope you're good. I hope you're peachy. I hope you're stellar, and I hope you're in a neat little bunch. If you're not, welcome to the party. That's just the story of my life, like every day. Anyway, cool. So let me just put some caveats out there. Kindly look out for my captions. They're not always accurate. They sometimes use a small g for God. They are misspelled sometimes, wrong word altogether, stuff like that. God willing, in the future sometime, I will actually get to attending to them for my longer videos when I've been given an incentive to do so. Right now I don't have one because barely anybody watches me. And then next, I'm very potentially wearing app makeup. If I am, you'll know. If I'm not, you'll also know. Keeps bouncing off my face, so I'm not shapeshifting, just in case you're concerned. Thirdly, I have a segment. I just want to really get it out the way, like real quick. Wait, I kind of pinch my cheeks. Not kinda, I just do it. I pinch my cheeks to display that I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't take a jab at me. Just don't do it. It's not nice. It's an empathy segment. I'm trying to display that I've got blood. If you prick me, I bleed. Stuff like that. Yeah. When you roll over me with a steamroller, I pass away. When you shoot me, I might just find myself critical in the hospital. Yeah, that's what I'm gunning for. If it happened, it happened. If it didn't, tomorrow's another day, okay? Yeah. Anyway, cool beans and banana peels. Just don't be insensitive. That's what I'm getting at. My hair, I know it looks a mess, but guys, I've got progress. I've got traction. Today is Saturday, okay? It's the 11th of May, and it is still the 11th of May. I have not popped over into the next day, have I? Yeah. I tend to take a little bit of a breather on weekends, but I don't have much of a breather now because I'm trying to redo my braids. Like, I'm literally on a mission to just redo my hair. Not a mission, I am actually in that mission. And guys, like, yo, it's about the takedown. It's about the product build up, the detangling. That's really just taking like a merry year. So I feel like I'm gonna end up doing this over 2 weeks. Like, it's ridiculous. This is all that I've done. It's something, but it's for a week. I've been at this for a week. A whole week. But the bright side of it all is that my hair is growing, y'all. My locks are growing. My locks are fervent for God, just like I'm fervent. So that's what's good. They are growing in grace from strength to strength. That's my hair. That's my hair from strength to strength. Yeah, it's growing, it's getting bigger and better, and it is just gonna keep growing, and one of these days I'm gonna rock up and it's gonna be right on my bum, I promise you, and I'm gonna be feeling so proud. So just wanted to show you that's what took up all of my Saturday. Not all of it really, but just quite a large chunk of it. And it's disquieting because it's like, whoa, am I gonna enter into a second week with this? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Insofar as I get it done, it's worth it because they chill on my head for 3 months. So if it takes me 2 weeks to bring down, detangle, and reinstall, 3 months later, I will only then be doing it again. So it's worth it for the amount of time that I get to keep them on, and it's also worth it for the hair growth, the length retention, all that jazz. Now that we've spoken about something irrelevant and boring, let's get straight into the point. Ugh. Me and this yawnful activity. Guys, it is alarming just how many new releases and new comebacks, like they're not releases, they're old, but like they are being re-invited into streaming platforms, type movies and series that are focusing on the whole end of the world and alien agenda. I'm just like, I don't know, y'all. I feel like something dire is up next for the planet. Whether or not the planet is intrigued by that prospect, it's irrelevant. Because at this point, there's too much evil. With me making an observation of this, like, stuff, right? Slap bang in the middle of all of my sorrow, I'm just like, okay, fine, let's go. Let's just go. There's too much evil. But at the same time, I'm not about that business. I'm not about that focusing on nothing but the end of the world is here business. So let's just move on. But the wickedness is too exquisite, okay? It is exquisite. It's ramping up ever so astronomically. However, I am also making an observation that a lot of people are calling it out for what it is. So that might be grace gawking at you. That might be a battle being waged where there's still enough good for God to keep this a going concern. I mean, none of us are good. No one does good. No, not one. For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But the Bible makes it clear that the last days is just riddled with this like crazy trend of people just walking away from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of demons. It is the great deception, the great apostasy. So there is a sharp decline, an exponential one at that, of uptake of Christianity, uptake of the only religion that saves. Let's just put that out there. Uptake of God at all. And if you're not going to take God up, and if like the number of people on the earth that love him are just in dwindling measure, found everywhere, they're sparsely scattered, scant in number, this here can't continue. If that's the world as at any given moment, that guys qualifies as the very end of the end, right? But things have been kind of gangster for a minute, to a point where Christians all throughout, you know, have just been speculating that this is it, it's over. I mean, you know how that dude wrote a book called 88 Reasons. Woo! Whoa! 88 Reasons Why the Rapture is Happening in 1988. We're still here. And I was only 4 years old at that time, so would I have gone home? Would I have? Somebody please tell me, would I have gone? I was quite a pious kid. I liked God when I was a kid. I was prayerful. I was very serious. So yeah, I think I might have gone home, but that's the thing, like, does salvation really work like that? It doesn't. You get saved at a point in your life and then you go to heaven, but I do believe that children, there is a point where they can't go to hell, like when they die, right? Yeah, like it's called the age of accountability or what. I do believe in that, but I don't think it's so, it's free. I don't think it's old. I think kids exit accountability much younger than a lot of people would appreciate. Yeah, I do believe that kids exit this age of accountability a lot earlier than a lot of people think, because they get to a point where they now are aware of what they're doing and they still are disrespectful, they're still disobedient, they're still ridiculous. Like there's this theory that based on what happened in the wilderness with Caleb and Joshua and everybody, how it is that God said kids from basically the age of 20 under can go into the world, into the wilderness, or into the new land flowing with milk and honey to go and take it, but everybody else that's basically 21 up, it's over for you type thing, like stay in the wilderness, you're not going into the land flowing with. Imagine being just 21 years old and you can't go into the future. Whoa. Yeah, but anyway, they were in rebellion, like exquisite rebellion, but a lot of, there's some people, there's a camp in the body of Christ that believe that just based on that alone in the Old Testament, that the age of accountability must be 20, that every child, every human being that dies at basically 20 down just automatically goes to heaven. Sorry, no, that is not true. It cannot be. Because have you seen some 18-year-olds? Have you heard some of the things they say? Have you observed the things they do? Have you gone to high schools and perused the amount of fornication in there? Have you heard the foul language in the mouths of some 15, 13-year-olds? Have you observed the level of disrespect and disobedience to parents that children walk in? If there are no ramifications for children based on commandments that God gave to children, then there is no God. And he says that he will leave no sin unpunished. So seeing as children obey your parents is like a whole commandment, that commandment can only apply to a child. So depending on what you call a child in your country, 21 and under, 20 and under, or 18 and under, if you don't obey that, you are outside of the will of God. And if you unfortunately perish prior to you exiting your childhood, some of them I do believe do go to hell. But that's not what I'm here talking about anyway. I don't even know how I got talking to the age of accountability. Oh yeah, I was speaking about 88 reasons of why the rapture is happening in 1988, and how it is that I was 4 years old and wondering if the rapture had happened at that stage, I would have gone. And I believe I would have, because I was within accountability, I think. I had yet to reach the age of accountability, I think, but I was also kind of pious. I liked Jesus. I liked God. I had God on my mind as a kid, guys. I really did. I properly did, because I started out in like Catholic schools and stuff. So I don't know, whatever. Not even something that we're talking about today. We are not having that discussion. Which is we're not having it, okay? Because it's a touchy subject, although I've spoken about it in my vlog. Touchy or not, I have spoken about it, you know, in my videos about how it is that God gave me a vision, a prophecy, and dreams. Quite a few of them explaining to me what's gonna happen to children in the tribulation. Yeah, like, so essentially they will be left behind kids. My point exactly. My point exactly. Like, yeah, the left behind conglomerate of children. The Lord, like I already spoke about this in my videos, y'all. Like, I don't want to reiterate on it. Go and watch my older content, but I saw cannibalism. I saw child armies that were feared by the world. Like, they were gangs. And these kids were upset because their parents it's like all the religion that they were taught by their parents who were out here hopping up and down like kangaroos in the world, still here, even though the apparent Christians left, is exactly what caused the rebellion of the kids. Like, you didn't even go, and you were so ungodly that I didn't go. So why should I listen to you? And then they form armies that are cannibalistic and abusive and dangerous and violent and so recalcitrant against authority that they won't even take the mark of the beast, and somehow they're gonna elude the whole system, never mind the system, but the plagues. And the only thing that'll make them repent once they are 7 years older is the second coming of Jesus Christ. The Lord says, suffer the little children to come to me. The Bible says that if you cause a child to sin, it is better for you to have a millstone tied around your neck and for you to be cast into the ocean than for you to, I guess, face God on that like final day. And that's what the Lord showed me is going to be happening with some kids in the tribulation. High schools going to be like gang, what do you call this? Like gang sites, like recruitment gang joints. Little children, tiny, like young kids. Young, like so young that like that's why I say that I believe the age of accountability is a lot younger than a lot of people think. I saw like some kid that looked like he could have been 6 out here being used to lure adults to his aid. Do you understand? Only for once these adults were now like, hi, where are your parents, little boy? Yeah, this little boy then runs into a corner and out comes some like teenage bandits, looting, robbing, and in the worst case scenario, killing and then eating the human being. That's what I saw in a dream. Like some cannibalistic kids that are also going to rebel vehemently against their parents, who will initially try to continue as normal with disciplining them. Johnny, Timmy, let's go. Hey, we're not Tebogo. And Tebogo's gonna be like, excuse me? The restrainer's gonna be removed. Why am I laughing? Because of the fact that I've been trying to get to the youth. Like, I've been trying to get to your kids. You know how there is this like advert? It's not an ad, I don't know what you want to call it. I guess you can call it an ad because it's been placed as such. But it's a social media video that has gone incredibly viral of some gay guy doing a jingle. Very talented, I'll give that to him. But you know when you're using your talents for Satan, don't nothing matter. Well sung, like absolutely mellifluous gay gentleman out here doing a little jingle about how we're coming for your children and there's nothing you can do. And he's proud of this LGBT blah blah agenda. Yeah, basically just trending on social media telling all of us that he's coming for our children because we are intolerant and blah blah all that jazz in a bag of chips. Yeah, alrighty, cool. Yeah, well, they got to your kids. They got to your kids and they are the ones that you're punting the agenda of. You're proliferating them more than you're proliferating Christians. And so when Karabo was like, I want your children. I want your babies. Give me your children, eh? Give me the 4 and the 5-year-olds. I'll take her. I'll take him more. I'll go and put him under my wing like a mother hen and I will raise him up in the admonition of Jesus. Give me your babies. Give me your babies. You look at me like I'm some creepy human trafficking rando into indoctrinating some kids. Give me your babies. Give me your children. That's what I said when I first got saved in Christ. I was like, give me your babies. I literally wrote poetry in my blog where I was like, Lord, I want the youth. I want the youth. I want the kids. I want to get them young. Do you want to know why I said I wanted to get them young? Because when I got born again at the age of 26 and a half, the first and biggest and baddest regret in the game that I had was having sex at all. That was the biggest and baddest regret I had. I wished I had gotten saved early enough to be a virgin waiting for her husband. Yeah. The first and biggest and bad, and there was no way under heaven that I would have maintained my virginity on nothing but willpower. Not in this society, not in this secular gangstrosity of a society. So when I got saved, I severely regretted it, and I realized that the only thing that would have protected me from making the foul errors that I made with sexual immorality was if I got raised up in the admonition of the Lord, if I grew up among youth groups, children attending camps, out here being spoken to by youth pastors about the dangers of fornication. You know why? Because listen up, right? When somebody finally spoke to me about soul ties for the first time when I was 26, it landed on my heart like such a gong. It was actually quite ridiculous how it landed. I got such severe conviction. I was told this stuff in a club, music going the person telling it to me, of which of course was also not very serious with Jesus, yet nonetheless I got that little bit of a nitbit of the gospel from a nightclub. And that conversation in the middle of all that noise and music, when this person was explaining this thing to me in the club, like I've already explained the story to you guys before, I'm not going to labor on the details of why we even ended up talking about sex before marriage in a club and why we shouldn't do it. It was like, it wasn't entirely a club, but it was one of those very vibrant music, loud hangout joints. Like it was like 5 6, the kind of place that you go to before you go to the club, like a bar type. Yeah, it was a place of that nature. And this music was going and going, and this chick got me so focused, like concentrating with like wires in my eyes, like with hypnosis spirals in my eyes, like I was under some kind of a mesmerizing spell. The way that I was so enchanted and entranced by what this person was saying. I came later to learn that was not enchanting or entrancement, nothing esoteric or new agey, but spiritual. It was the Holy Spirit convicting me of sin. And I sat there listening to this chick, and I wanted to get more answers, more information on this thing that she was telling me was the problem of my soul. And she just did not give me satisfactory answers, and so I went into my own self, deep dive, own research. Until, hallelujah, amen, many months later, I got totally born again. You're gonna have to check out all of my stories to get all the nitbits of what made me born again. Anyway, yeah. So if I got that severely convicted right in that kind of environment of sexual sin, when somebody finally just explained the consequences of it to me, it means that if somebody had spoken that same message to me at 15, at 14, if I broke my virginity at 17, if somebody had spoken to me at 16, before I did it, I would not have done it. I'm just like, I probably would not have done it. I mean, the conviction I got at 26 made me stop having sex with my boyfriend. I stopped. I thoroughly stopped. Like, we were seasonally broken up when I heard that information, and by the time we got back together again, I was like, I can't, you know. Dude was like, but like, we've been doing it all along. And it's like, yeah, but you know, God doesn't like it. And he was just like, whoa, okay, Karabo, like, whatever, sister girl, do you sister cheeky type thing. He didn't really give me grief or whatever, but the thing that also broke us up, that I believe God basically created a wedge between us, was because after a couple of like weeks of giving, I didn't give him grief. It's not like he hated. It's not like he was resisting me for that decision I made. He wasn't coercive at all. I'd be lying, okay? And neither was he upset. Like, he was a total gentleman about it, actually. Yeah, I capitulated one time, and after that, everything fell apart. Like, literally, if our relationship was on rocks, this time around it was in the ocean. Oh, it was drowning. There was so much turbulence that came that ripped us apart permanently. So I was celibate in my relationship for a couple of weeks, maybe even like 2 to 3 months with my boyfriend. And when I finally capitulated again, because I imagined that, no, God is probably cool with it. Thunderstorms, peals of thunder. So those rumblings, those thunderstorms, and that conviction that caused a woman that had been fornicating all this time to stop having sex with her boyfriend. If that had happened earlier, I would not have had sex at all. So long story short, if somebody had gotten to me first, if somebody had been like, I want your children, give me your baby, give me your child, where's your teenage girl? Give me that 13-year-old. I want to go talk to her about Jesus. I want to go explain to her consequences of sexual sin. Give me your baby. If my mom had been like, take her, I wouldn't have been taken like a tsunami. But that's what the LGBT community is like. I want your baby, give me your baby. I want to give me your child. So we get to say that. I said it. If I had gotten saved as a kid, I would never have had sex. I would never have had sex, and I know that that's true because of how strongly I reacted to information about sexual repercussions, sexual spiritual repercussions when I was 26. Like, yeah, I know that if somebody had responsibly explained the gospel to me when I was younger, if somebody had been like me, you know how I am so explainy, you know how I tell my stories, you know how my whole mission is centered around using my testimony, my life, the things I've experienced to create a great disincentive in people from entering into certain things. I feel very strongly like I cannot do anything for millennials and Gen X's and certain Gen Z's. I feel like I can only help Gen Z's and Gen Alpha, because a lot of millennials, basically all the kids, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, they've already made so many mistakes that they get bitter when I speak. My heart even plunges into the ocean when I look at my stats on YouTube. And I noticed that the age group that I'm largely attracting as subscribers, no hate, are my age. It's like, you know, I'm looking for the age group 18 to 25, 24. I'm gunning for them. I'm also gunning for 18 and under. Kids. I'm gunning for people who are still largely still single. Fine, they're making mistakes right now, but just like me at 26, not enough to basically have had so much of a mess in your life that now you would be jealous of everybody that has not made that mess. Now you would be bitter at everybody that has not spilled that milk on the kitchen counter and is not crying over it. Guys, I got saved at that pivotal time. It was a sweet spot. I got born again at a sweet spot. I got saved when I was about to make life-changing mistakes, but I was caught on time, but not on time enough to not have made certain mistakes. I made the kinds of mistakes that give you a scar on your leg. It's unseemly when you're wearing certain outfits. You're like, oh, I wish I didn't have that there. But like, it's not as unseemly as a scar on your face. Like, I made scar on leg type mistakes, and I'm dealing with people groups that have made scar on face type mistakes, and now they don't like how they look in the mirror. They can't just cover it with some pants, and they're coming at me like a ton of bricks. Last night I had, Jesus Christ, give me mercy. You know, guys, I'm exhausted. I want to have babies, but let the rapture happen, because it appears you don't care that you imagine that we are the destructive ones for the baby, eh? You think that we're the one that go destroy the baby, but the baby is perfectly handled by the body of Christ. Oh, we are better for your baby. We are better, because otherwise the LGBT go grab your baby, will go sing jingle on TikTok and trends, and the baby gonna go agree, clap hand, not understanding what is going on with them when it is possible for them to go to hell. I want your babies. It's possible for them to go to hell. I don't understand what's going on with my phone. Should I switch it off and on? There's like a whole glitchy thing going on here that is making me somewhat uneasy. Is it because there's still content deleting? 1 second, let me check something. No, it did that yesterday as well. Like, is this phone glitching and twitching on me? Like, for what? Anyway, whatever. Look, God is amazing. Let's just carry on talking. I had a horrendous nightmare last night. Basically just a lot of sorcery that is operating, coming from a lot of people. A lot of people. The majority of my afflictors are my age group. They are women who are my age and men that are my peers. Men that would have been age appropriate to be my husband, and women who would have been age appropriate to be my girls. So give or take, I'm 39. Women from anywhere around the age of like 30 to 45 are just coming at me. Maybe 30 is a bit young. Let's say 34, 33 to 45. Y'all, hey, but like, okay, so let me describe my dream to you. When I say I want your children, so you can understand what I'm talking about. When I was newly saved, I wrote so much poetry and I prayed so hard to God to give me the youth, because I was young enough to be role modelly towards them. Like, you know how young girls so look up to a beautiful young professional woman and they're like, oh, I want to be like Karabo. Like, when I was younger, I used to absolutely love Girlfriends, that show, and Sex and the City. I used to like Ellie McBeal. It was basically, they were all shows showing young women in the early stages of their careers in whatever fields doing really well, and you looked up to them. Of course, there was a lot of sin in those shows. I did not yet know Christ, so it didn't really matter to me that there was so much sin in so very many regards. And what was true was that I looked up to these women and I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be like Ally McBeal. I wanted to be like Ling, like Portia de Rossi. Okay, so Callister Flockhart, Lucy Liu, Portia de Rossi. I wanted to be like Joan in Girlfriends, Tracy Ellis Ross. You get my point. I wanted to be like Carrie Bradshaw, Sarah Jessica Parker. I wanted to be like these women when I was older. They were young, but older than me. So I was at that pivotal age where I was young, but older than high school girls. And I wanted them to look up to me the way that I looked up to those women. And I imagined that I was at, like I said, I was at that age and so able to influence in that regard. I felt like my example could be a good one, but for good. Instead of wickedness. Like Sarah Jessica Parker was not a good influence in God. Neither was Lucy Liu in Ally McBeal. She was this feisty, animalistic girl with like, I remember how she was. Neither was who is this, like Tracy Ellis Ross. They were admirable from a worldly vantage point. And I now got born again as a woman that was now living the lifestyle that I admired in those women. I had the career and everything. I basically fulfilled the dreams. Do you understand what I'm saying? I got that, but I got born again. So I imagine that I would make for a really, really great example to young women, young girls, and like young women that are just starting out in like their adult life. I imagine that I would make for a really great example because I am the Sarah Jessica Parker that is saved, that doesn't fornicate. You know, I am the Joan that is saved. I am the Ally McBeal that is saved. I am the well-rounded woman with much to look forward to and up to that is, however, on the straight and narrow. I thought of myself as that potential. I really did. And so I took it to God and I sought his face for a husband. The two of us would then be like this team that would work with the youth. I wanted that. Well, I'm still single at 39. I also wanted, what is this? In and of myself, I wanted to really, really inspire young women, young girls type thing for Christ. I WordPress got rid, either archived or got rid of. If I had money, I would actually like raise a lawsuit, not a lawsuit, but take it to court. There's a lot of my content that I wrote I started my blog in 2012 and content up to 2015. It's gone, all of it. It's like they just decided to archive it without my permission, and it's really upsetting because it's like creative work. I wrote a lot of poetry when I was still employed at MTN for Christ, and one of the poems was called Father, I Have a Dream, and it was a dream about reaching the youth for Jesus with my husband. And like it's gone, like it's all gone. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure WordPress would be able to just regurgitate it if I said I want it back, but you know, it just did a cleanup on my behalf that I can't do anything about, and I'm too broke to raise the issue. Anyway, whatever, yeah, I had those dreams, right? I had those dreams. I sent those petitions to God, and it was my peers. It was my peers. It was the, late Gen X, early millennials that pulled the rug from underneath my feet and prevented me from getting to the youth. Many of us didn't even have children yet at the time, so really I wasn't even gunning for their kids. I was gunning for the kids of the Gen X's, the older Gen X's. I was gunning for Gen Z's. I was gunning for kids the age of my little sister. I'm older than her by 17 years. I was gunning for kids in primary, high school, varsity, and just the beginning of corporate. I was gunning for that, and I was well placed to gun for them. And I had the rug pulled from under my feet by women who were 25 going all the way to the age of 40. They made a decision. Men and women, not just women, okay? It was men and women that made a decision that they're just gonna be dirty, that they're just gonna be filthy. They're gonna play dirty. Women are going to jealously rip me from all of my dreams, and men are going to, in their entitled demeanor, just get what they want, just grab it. Here's a Christian woman, consecrated, and she's getting slapped by stupid boys with korobela. Like, Pegamina Pela, bring back lost lover, ex-boyfriend trying to come back into the life of a woman that gave her life to Christ, and you didn't want him. You didn't want Jesus, dude. And so I left. I got out. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I've got like this bring back lost lover flood from exes. I've got this random stupid boys in the office out here deciding that I like Karabo, she's cute, that chick there chilling in that department, boo, with like some strange spells. And all that stuff wreaked so much spiritual chaos that it caused God to essentially extract me from society at all. I was working for God. My blog was available, right, for anyone to find me, because the search engine results were actually, my SEO stats were actually really good when it came to searching my name. If you would type in Karabo Hlongwane, you would find I was like number 1 or 2 on the search results in from any, like, you know, search engine that you would like search from, whether you're on Bing, whether you're on Google, whether you're, you would find my blog, because I ranked very high if you were to type in my name and my surname. So you know how when people are competing with you, when they're curious about who you are or what you're about, and they know your name and your surname, hovering around in the office, curious about you, hovering around on campus in school, because I used to study part-time at Vets, curious about you, are aware of your first name and surname. Sometimes they just look you up, Karabo Hlongwane, and they did, and they found my blog. It ranked it was number 1 or 2 in the search results, clicked on it, and then discovered my fervency for Jesus, discovered my love for God, discovered the work that I was doing. I was writing this beautiful poetry, this literature for the Lord, and all that jazz. And it was these 25 to 40-year-old women, my peers at the time, right? I was 26, that decided that over my dead body, for real, they decided over their dead bodies. For real, girl. Like, over your dead body, dude, for real. My name was searchable. My blog is what came up. I like to say this, okay? So the Proverbs 31 woman, it is written of her in the Lord's word that many women have done excellently, but she surpasses them all. There is this strange animalistic desire. It's almost like it's wild. It's beastly. It's rooted in primitive thought processes that are not laundered by self-control, that dwells in men sometimes, where it is that they just have this stupid selfish mentality along the lines of men cannot hold their horses or be good and run rampant, and run around in these streets being like the good boy, because no woman likes the good guy. However, women have got to be good, otherwise no one is going to embrace her or take her seriously, right? It's a primitive mindset. It's very animalistic, because a lot of times that's generally how animals operate, in that the males can have multiple partners and just continue to breed babies with multiple females without them complaining. That's just how the animal kingdom works a lot of times. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whereas female animals tend to be just like us, loyal to one male, tend to give birth to the babies of one dude all throughout their lives. Largely, that's what happens in the animal kingdom. There are exceptions, of course, to every norm, right? So this primitive mindset dwells in men, where they desire loyalty and faithfulness and goodness and virtue in a woman, but don't feel the need to chisel their own, to actually build their own character. Therefore, there is an excruciating entitlement that they have over good girls when they meet them. I don't know how many male friends I have had in the past, as well as friends of my boyfriend, that I have made an observation of in the past, that had some pretty sober, stable women. But the horror stories that I would hear about what they're doing in these streets were just like heightened, astronomical, and I couldn't understand, but why is this woman staying? And I feel as if though largely it's because I guess women feed that beast and it therefore continues to thrive. And never mind feeding the beast, it's a carnal, worldly mindset that is not laundered by Jesus. It's not laundered by the Lord. So because the man has no Holy Spirit, there is no incentive for him to overcome the basic instincts that he has. This slave nature that we are born with, right? Dead in trespasses and sins. It's an actual original sin problem, where it is that men will have a natural inclination towards a certain bestial way of being in the presence of women, while women will grovel at the feet of men. Proper. It's like the judgment that was handed down to Eve and Adam and Eve when they fell in the garden. If you think about what God said to Adam, he said that Adam, you're gonna go, he said to Adam, you are gonna rule your wife. That was pronounced as a judgment. It was a curse on him. Yes, work by the sweat of your brow, all that jazz, and rule your wife. The woman was told she's gonna give birth in pain, and that her desire will be for her husband. So basically she's going to be salivating after this dude, chasing after him like a tail, while he is authoritarian, full of rule, and sometimes even maybe withholding affection from her, to a point where men have got to be instructed to love their wives the way that Christ loved the church when they come to the Lord. When they embrace the second Adam, they have to be given an explicit instruction to do so because it doesn't come naturally in them. They easily hurt us in ways that are excruciating, that they, however, have no appreciation for the excruciating pain that is causing. Men rarely ever in the world have any true appreciation for the exquisite pain they cause women when they cheat. They don't have a true grasp or a true remorse for it, like a true pain for the pain that they cause another. Like, you know how when you, like, if you hurt somebody else, if you shove someone, if you push them, or if you do something mean, or if you, like, you do coarse jesting, if you just mock somebody, tease them, and then you see them walking away crying, how it makes you feel like trash. Like, you really feel guilty when you set a person up for failure, when you sabotage them, and then you realize what you've done and it just eats you alive. They struggle to experience that kind of guilt for afflicting women with an exquisite pain when they cheat. It just doesn't dawn on them naturally that the pain is excruciating when you cheat. They to a point where if it's happened once and the woman forgives and he comes back in, he just decides next time to be more careful with getting caught instead of avoid it at all. It doesn't dawn on them as so a grand infraction against her that it's worthy of not repeating again. Like, to see a woman like that, so devastated, it's not enough for him to stay his hand from doing that again. There is just a cognitive, like a dissonance of sorts, a divorcement from rightful reaction, appropriate reaction to a woman's pain that dwells naturally in men that are yet to be redeemed by the Holy Spirit of God, to a point where it is imperative that the Lord would then highlight it in the scriptures through Paul, that is it Paul or Titus, basically the word of the Lord, okay, even in the book of Ephesians, that you have got to love your wives the way that Christ loved the church. God says it like over and over and over again. Love your wives, love your wives, love your wives, because it does not come naturally. It does not come easily. Love is not the equivalent or tantamount of emotions felt once, because yes, indeed, those feelings, those butterflies, that stuff that you feel when you're romantically involved with somebody, that of course dwells in men. They also spaz, they also have the hots for a woman to a point where they can't control themselves. They don't know whether they're coming or going. They can't help but, just basically make, like, who was that dude jumping up and down on Oprah's couch when he was with his woman, Tom Cruise, right? Over, what's the lady's name? I forgot. But now they're divorced and what have you. Yeah, guys can, when they're in love with a woman, do crazy things like those. But love, according to the scriptures, we all know, but according to God's word in 1 Corinthians 13, is not merely feelings that can make a man jump up and down on Oprah's couch, or wait with bated breath for an SMS to come through, a text message or WhatsApp. It is not just that. Love is a whole deed. Do you understand? It's patient. It's kind. It doesn't hold a record of past wrongs. It's not self-serving. It's not conceited. Go read 1 Corinthians 13. You get my point. It always trusts. It always it bears all things. It endures. Yeah. You get my point. You understand, right? Of course, I would need to go and memorize 1 Corinthians 13, which is quite a sham, really. Why is it I don't know it off by heart? Because there are certain passages of scripture that I made a determination to memorize early in the faith, and that was one of them, and I didn't quite get around to doing it. But I don't know it off by heart, but you can go and read it yourselves. All right, that's what love is. Love is the embodiment of 1 Corinthians 13 and everything else that God says love is. By this men will know that you're my disciples, love one another. You get my point. And it doesn't come naturally. The training does not come naturally to them. And there also appears to be very little incentive among each other to counsel one another to do better by women. Like, men in the world help each other hurt women. It's just the most ridiculous thing, and it's bizarre and barbaric to watch. Whereas men in Christ have got to be retrained. They get retaught. And so coming to Christ was, for me, I guess, the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because then somebody else takes on the responsibility of letting a guy know that you don't just get to hurt a woman like that. Other men, and they tend to more easily listen to other men than they do other women. And in the Christian faith, it is frowned upon to just be unloving towards a wife by men in the faith as well. It's not just a woman highlighting that, but Jabu, you're breaking my heart. But Jabu, why did you cheat on me? But Tamba, why did you that? It's always us that are whining and complaining. But when a man is out here telling a man that you don't do that to a woman, it hits differently, right? They train each other far better than we ever can train them. They're not inclined naturally to listen to us. They have got to actually work on it to listen to us. It's even written again in God's word that men, if you don't listen to your wives, your prayers will be hindered, because it's just a natural rather gravitation that draws on their bones to not listen. So they have to be intentional in beating their flesh to submission, putting to death the deeds of the body by the Holy Spirit, to conquer or overwhelm that which is their natural drawing, whatever they are naturally drawn towards doing. They have to go to Romans 7 war and make war with this body of death in making a self-observation, self-awareness, to see that I'm being mean, I am being hard, like, what is this, condescending, I'm being you know, when you just like disregard a person, quickly just rebuff them and whatnot. When you're filled by the Holy Spirit, stuff like that you look out for naturally. And then with women, you know how the judgment on Eve was, your desire will be for your husband. Well, I mean, that could produce a myriad of all different kinds of issues, in that there's a gargantuan problem with women where it is that they, just for the sake of gaining affection at all from a man, will literally take anything. They are doormats, my goodness, steamrollers on the floor flat, just laying yourself prostrate on the floor to a most dastardly man. Like, that's why you have these odd pairings in society of some of the baddest chicks in the game with these dudes that cause everybody question marks, like, how did this woman marry that guy? Or a woman walking down the aisle to a man that has shown her flames. Women embracing proposals of men that you've been dating the guy since you were in high school, and the whole time, all of this Johannesburg has been sleeping with this man, and all the reports of all of his dalliances have been coming back to your ears. Then he proposes marriage and she marries him. There was a woman like that at MTN that married, no, she was not at MTN, she was the wife of a man that was working for MTN. This guy, oh goodness, like, I had a friend from in the group hosting program that I was doing for the 2010 World Cup. And this chick, I had newly met her, she used to work in this man's department prior to her moving to marketing. And my goodness, she would tell me stories about how she was a very popular woman. Like, she knew a lot of people. She was popular with everybody, boys, girls, men, women, etc. And she knew quite a few call center agents at MTN. And she would tell me all of these stories about how it is that, oh, my friend, she's busy with, let's say that guy's name was John. Hey, my friend is dating John and she's in love with him. And I'd always known John. You see, John was a general manager for procurement, and John had, when I was new at MTN, just maybe 2 years prior, had made a pass. Well, I mean, no, I would say just a year prior, because the World Cup was in 2010. I started working at MTN in 2009. This man, I was an administrator. My boss had sent me to get documentation signed off or something at his desk. I went there on some, okay, I'm going to send documentation to a GM. And then I get to the desk, I find him at the desk, thankfully he was there for the day. And so I decided to go straight to him instead of to his PA on some, do you mind signing this? It's quite urgent. It's this particular documentation from my boss, who is this woman. And this dude was like, yeah, sure, I'll sign it if you agree to go to dinner with me. I just looked at this dude and I was like, and I left it right there on his desk. The next time I asked my colleague to go, rather, every time that he needed that documentation needed to be sent to this dude, I sent my male colleague, because I did not appreciate all of that flirtation. I did not know at that stage that he was married, but I just found, like, just his, like, I found his activity inappropriate, like, severely. I would only come to learn that that's just how he was. And so much so, would this guy just hit on anything in the room? He sometimes forgot that he once asked you out. He once made a pass at you. Like, he made so many passes at me, thinking that I was just another, like, again, like, he didn't know that it was the same girl from last year. It was the same girl from 2 months ago. To him, it was just a skirt that was passing. He had made a pass at me in, what is this thing, in the parking lot, where it is that I was going to go to my car, and he was driving out, and he decided to slow down and talk to me. And yes, one time I was like, dude, no, I'm not gonna be with a Casanova. He had no clue that I was the girl that he said he wants to take to dinner. No clue that I was the girl that he had, like, just inappropriate conversation on email. Like, you would talk to him, right? And then next thing he would send you an email talking about how it is that your smile is so beautiful. And I'm like, why is this guy doing this? And well, largely I just ignored it. I wasn't the only one. I was not the only one. This guy did this with the whole of MTN. That 14th Avenue building was just littered with his victims. And some of them had the brazen audacity to fall in love with him. And this friend that I met at the group hosting program thing, I met her in 2010 after this dude had made a couple of passes on me, and he would continue to make them all the way up until I left MTN. I didn't leave MTN, I got fired, right? Y'all know my story is a sad one, right? Anyway, and the whole time he never knew that I was the same girl. He just thought it was a different one because he was just always all about that business. Yeah, this chick who I met a little bit later then told me that one of her girls from the call center is in love with him and she's busy crying, and she kept on telling her, but he's a married man and you've known it this whole time. He's a married man and you've known it this whole time. By then, I also knew that he was a married man, so I was very annoyed by the fact that he tried to ask me out for dinner. And he was busy with a few of the women in the call center. A few of them. So basically it was like, if you will let me, I'll let you. If you will let me, I will wine and dine you, and I will take you to hotels. And some of these girls, these impressionable girls, these women agreed to basically be wooed by a man that they allowed themselves to fall in love with, despite knowledge of his dalliances all over the company and the fact that he was married. He was the cousin of one of my colleagues, right? One of the project managers, and this girl would tell me about his wife. I would ask her, what does his wife look like? That means, is she ugly? Like, is she fat? Is there something unseemly about her? Did she trap him with a pregnancy? What? And her cousin, his cousin, the chick that was my colleague, was like, if you saw the wife, she is so beautiful and she is so sweet and she is so calm and she's so relaxed. She's basically just this like chill lady that the kind of man not kind of man, but the kind of woman that every man wants. Like, not a loud mouth, just kept to herself, very virtuous, just, yeah, and beautiful. I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I know I had a boss when I was a student at Wits, when I worked in retail as a casual, who had the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen for a wife and the most beautiful kids I'd ever seen in my life. And this dude was busy with all of these chicks in Rosebank that worked at YDE, at Stone Cherry, at what have you. And the only reason he did not hit on me and my colleagues was because we were his staff. That was the only reason. But listen to this, okay? That same man, years down the line, one of my friends who was with me, a casual at the same time, yeah, we stayed friends. Having met at that place, she went on right ahead to graduate in fashion design. All right. So the guy ran a clothing store. He would later meet her and offer her a business proposal to work for him as a designer in his store. Cool. The young woman has grown up and she's graduated from her fashion degree. My goodness. Yeah. And then while he was at it, he just slipped in a, how would you like to go for dinner? How would you? And she was like, I can't believe he's asking me out. And I was like, but girl, that's how he was, right? You remember how back in the day his beautiful wife would come to the store and we'd feel sorry for her type setup thing, and then some like strange little flagrant mistress of his would pop into the store looking for him, flirting with him right in front of us, and this dude was just like literally ironing the skirts of all of these casuals all over Rosebank, the Zone and the mall, etc. That's just the thing. This woman was with this man, from what I understood, since they were kids, right? He was a man, that the woman was in her 30s. He was maybe late 30s, entering his 40s. My friend and I were like 19, right? He also tried to highlight my cousin, who was my age exactly, at 19. Yeah. When she came into the store, he was like, who's your cousin? I'm like, all I could think about was, do you seriously think I'm going to let my cousin date you, knowing that you're a married man? I'm not going to throw my cousin in the bus, dude. Like, he had no horses, like, at all. And given that this woman was with this man since high school, and now they were married, what are the odds that she did not know that her man was like that? Like, what are the odds that you could be in the dark about that level of philandering activity? A man so prolific with other women, you tend to know when your man is like that. You find out a lot of times. You get told, people who care about you, and what is this? Never mind people who care about you, but sometimes just bust him. Like, just activity for days. Like, cell phone. I had a boyfriend that was hectic like that. And within the first 2-3 months of us being together, I just, like, information arrived at my doorstep about stuff he was doing. From my cousin told me. I saw it in his cell phone. I still stayed with him like a year and a half. I dated that guy a year and a half. I'm explaining something here. Yeah, but I knew one time, like this dude cheated on me with my my cousin, and our, like, we were a crew of friends, and he decided it's like his boys were with their girlfriends who were my cousin and our friends, and I was the only medi that was not there. And this dude bambad, this terminology, English, he had a side piece. Thank you. He had a side piece in front of my cousin and two of my girls. In front of my cousin and two of my girls. And of course, I mean, they told me. They came back and they told me. And the next weekend I was with him. The next weekend I was with this guy. I remember when my cousin told me the story, all I could think, I was like, was she beautiful? And my cousin was like, wait, tocha. She was like, are you scared of yourself? Are you self-doubting? Don't doubt yourself. The fact that my cousin didn't advise me to leave him, that was problematic. She was rather like, don't self-doubt. You're the boss lady. You're the rechte. You're the queen. You're the medi. You're the one that he's always going to come back to, girl. So don't give yourself a headache over some side piece, some floozy. That was the advice from another woman. The advice was not leave, get out, get the step in. It was, you are the number one. You're the rechte. You're the medical aid girl. And so because I was a medical aid, we call them medis. Yeah, because I was the main chick, I got comforted. I thoroughly got comforted by that rubbish. I got comforted by my status as the main chick instead of getting out. That's what that judgment on Eve achieves in a woman. It is a woman, from now on, your desire will be for your husband. It has created sappy little namby-pamby females out of women who cannot make a resolved decision to leave a bad situation because all they want is love. Dum, da, 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 da. All they need is love. Dum, da, 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 da. Insofar as the man is happy to say I love you, insofar as he's made you a rechte. Rechte, we call them rechtes. That's the Afrikaans word for right. So you are the main chick, yeah. And so far as you're a rechte, you're just good, yeah. Well, that was the last relationship where I ever took that in my stride because it hurt too much. The next times that I would date, I would demand faithfulness. So I guess my boyfriends were a lot more discreet with their dalliances and what have you. But just the fact that women can know the risk for contracting all different kinds of venereal diseases that they put themselves in by staying with such unfaithful men and yet stick around, having even been a virgin when you initially lay with this guy and then you end up contracting a disease. Just the fact that those are total entire realities, possibilities that could come through, and yet nonetheless they still bend over backwards is evidence of the curse. Not only that, in the black community in particular, I can't speak for white girls because I never really had a lot of them for friends, or any other race for that matter, right? I largely hung around black girls on the come up. And one thing I can tell you about black women, black men, their complaints about us are unfounded and unsubstantiated. Yes, black girls can be loud and they are sometimes full of screaming and yelling, but one thing that they are is submissive and full of service. They are very domesticated, extremely domesticated. Like, I don't know how many of my friends I have starved at the houses of, having visited them because they didn't make me a sandwich on time, that we're out here now, that the boyfriend was over, or that she was at the boyfriend's house, was cooking bap and meat, and she was like a chick that you will thoroughly walk into the house and stumble over some shoes at the door, and yet at her boyfriend's house black women she'll be wearing a turk and some knee pads because she's scrubbing, she's cleaning some pots, like she is not even his wife. Like, black women serve men like their wives, and they are super domesticated in so doing. And when they start dating these guys, they will cook meals that you have never tasted as a friend, and they will also clean a house in a way that, girl, but I know your bedroom in your mama house. We are always stumbling over some shoes, but this guy's house, when you're there, ding, everything is like sparkling. She becomes a domestic maid. And then when she progresses deeper into this relationship to a point of knowing his family, when the family has gatherings, events, she's peeling some carrots, she's cutting some potatoes, she is waking up in the wee hours of the morning, sweeping the yard, otherwise known as Khufira Lebala. And I'm like, but you're not even his wife, girl. You're not even, like, proper. They kotisa, almost like engage themselves, bride themselves to men before they even married to them. That's evidence of the curse. I can't speak for white girls. I don't know if white girls are like this too, where it is that your own bedroom has got panties hanging on a chandelier, the way that you did not put them in the laundry after you went into the shower. You just threw it and then it landed on the chandelier and it's still there 3 days later. But in your boyfriend's house, oh my goodness, like his underwear will be folded with, you know, that stuff that folds shirts at the laundromat. You will fold his underwear like that with a folding thing, and you will find it stacked on top of each other, thinking this here is the right woman. Color coding his socks and everything, making sure that there's nothing that is out of place because you want him to think that he's the baddest, that you're the baddest chick in the game. I don't know if white girls are like this too, or non-blacks, essentially any other race, but I can tell you for a fact that with us black women, that like that's just the thing, like they become like that. And then there's the thing with the voices as well, the voices of black women. Like this chick will be talking to you like this, like a black girl, right? Yo girl, yeah, no mabane has next thing like you don't even have to understand what I'm saying, just listen to the tone and the you know, the inflections in my voice, the way that I'm speaking. That's how she's talking. Eh, una ke modese. Eh, ke mone mara na le mopila yo. Tshirele. Eh, mara ka opana ko office nga ntse le bidile mono mo motona mo kakange. Ile ke hatla na ke botsa rona sisters. Na re wena o tlo jola botlhoko jana ga jwang. Eh, and then next thing a phone call comes to you don't have to hear what I said. Just listen to the tone. Okay? Yeah. Then a call comes through from her boyfriend. Same girl. That was like, eh, mothakole batho na le mopila tshera teng. Ke ha ba mo jela ke reka 4x4. O se wa teng. Mara lena ke fila ka re dropile bolo last week ke mone mono di la santsa le busy le mo so bara o shapa ka Z3. That's her. And then next thing a phone call comes through and it's boyfriend. Hi baby, how are you? Like she goes from omo des. Yeah, tring tring. Hi babe. No, I'm just hanging out with my girls. Yeah, we just decided to do a few things, you know, we were at the mall. Yeah, because one of my girls is graduating, so we just like are seeing her through, you know, helping her shop. Anyway, how are you? You will literally stand there as her friend, and you'll be like, you will stand there and you will be shocked out of your mind. And the fact that your friend has a new tone, she has a new voice, it has a squeak in it. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. I'm wrapped in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair. She will speak like that. But with you, girl, mo dese. How come mana mo thateng ona le mo pila kakakang? A driver ke re Z3 ke wanda lor nana hana yona na. Z3 ya teng o mo avoid. Hey babe. No, I'm good. I'm just hanging out with my girls. Yeah. No, we're at Panarotti's, the pizza place. Yeah. So what are you doing? Oh, babe.